Welcome into a playoff edition of the Low Post Pod. I'm your host, Christian Martinelli, joined with two newcomers this year, Brian Heston. He's been on the pod in the past, and Logan Goodman. He's been a contributor all year, helping us out, but his first time on the pod. Matt and Kyle, tough schedules this week, couldn't get on, but I'm sure you guys don't care. You're really on here to see me mostly, so appreciate you guys joining in again. Logan and Brian, thanks for coming on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think the last time I was on was after our last playoff loss. So that's kind of my theme now, is just to come on after our season's over, talk about our team and talk about how I feel about the league moving forward. So glad to be on here, and I feel I can give a neutral view now that my season's done at least.
Unfortunate trend, but
yeah.
Logan, thanks for coming on, man. You've been helping. How you been helping this year?
I do a lot of the player of the week, the game of the week graphics. I do. Right now, I'm designing some shirts, I think, and then I've done a few of the post game shows, which is super fun. So I hope I get to come back next year and help you guys out some more. So
awesome, yeah. All those graphics look sick, and you've got to make some for Brian the last few weeks as he's been racking up the player of the week titles for sure. So you've been doing an awesome job all summer. So thanks for that.
Hey, one thing about that last player of the week that I won, I know the DA's boys, I know they listen a lot, and they were not upset. I don't think that I won it, but upset that I was back to back when they had an instance earlier in the year when they won, or when Kutu could have been back to back. But I actually voted for Vincent Volpe. I think not because my game was bad that week, but I thought he deserved at least one player of the week with the way he's been shooting the ball this year. He's been going insane, and I really want him to win the last week. So unfortunately, I guess I won it, but I really wish that Volpe could have got some credit because his season's been really impressive so far this year.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. Kutu went off for 40-something points, and actually on the podcast we were talking about how egregious it was, that he didn't get that and whatever. We're kind of just ragging on Joe.
He was in the vote. He wasn't even in the vote, I don't think.
No, he wasn't. Yeah, so that was crazy. And Vincent probably deserved to get one, but you put up some I don't know 5-6 straight huge weeks. So it is what it is. You just you just been running away with all the awards, and I'm sure you'll have some postseason awards coming your way as well. We know you're getting at least 2 MVP votes. Kyle and Matt, who are usually on the pod, said they both voted for you for MVP. So we'll be seeing if you'll be adding that to your mantelpiece as well, which is interesting race between probably you and John Kutu, I assume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my vote would have been to Kutu just because of the way the DA's boys all year pretty much dominated everyone, and he's the main focal point of that team. So if he wins it, I think he totally deserves it, and if I win it, then I'll definitely accept the award, no question about that.
Yeah.
Was that your fourth one? Fifth one?
It'd be my first MVP.
First MVP? No, you got the defensive player of the years.
Yeah, I kind of hope I can rack up another DPOY because at this point, I got 4 of them already. I'm hoping to get another one, but we'll see how the votes fall.
Yeah, you're definitely my vote for Defensive Player of the Year. I think I was checking the stats leaders earlier. I think you're leading in rebounds by 30 or something. I think you're leading in steals, leading in blocks. So I think it's definitely your award to lose if, you could be Defensive Player of the Year, you could be MVP, and it'd be awesome if you're both, because John Kutu at this point looking like he could maybe be Finals MVP. So we'll see what happens there. But for now, let's get into these quarterfinals games. We had some awesome games, like we predicted on the podcast last week. We had a feeling some of these games would be awesome barn burners. We had a feeling maybe some of them wouldn't be as close. We're going to start with a game that the final score really doesn't reflect how close this game was, at least halfway through. Duyer's boys versus Halfway Crooks. Duyer's boys end up winning this 76-49. I think we set a 20-25 point line on this. Duyer's boys did cover that line by a few points, but if you were watching this game and you're following it on Snapchat, watching it in person, you'll realize that Duyer's boys offense wasn't clicking in the first half whatsoever, and they only carried a 5-point lead going into half. Third quarter, they wake up, they kind of explode, and they end up running away with this victory pretty easily in the end. But this game was a lot tougher than the final score kind of says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, with the Crooks, like you said, they were in it until halftime. Just from watching the game, they were missing a lot of not open shots, but shots that in other weeks those could have fallen. So I mean, you look at the stats for the Crooks shooting 32% from the field, 21 to 64 as a team. Credit the Dewey's boys defense there for making some of those shots tougher, but really struggling from deep. I mean, Joey 0 for 6 from 3, Sweeney 1 for 9, Hansen 2 for 9. And especially with Sweeney and Hansen, like we know that there's weeks where those guys can light it up from beyond 3-point line. So tough for them to go out this way, but credit the Dewey's boys for turning it on the second half and running away with it.
Yeah, Logan, what kind of stands out to you for the reason why, Dewey's boys were able to handle them in the end?
The DJ's boys are just they play very, very aggressive. They play great defense. They play even better offense. The unfortunate thing for the halfway crooks is they just don't have the guys that can put up multiple double digit nights, and you can see that clearly here. They only got 2 guys in double digits, while every single week you got 2 guys on DJ's boys putting up 20 or more. You got to equal that. You got to equal that offensive output, and then I don't really think there's many teams in the league that can keep up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's the reason why Dewey's boys have won 11, 12, whatever it is, 13 straight games. Their offense is just, phenomenal, with especially when Zach Tartaglia is scoring 26 points, who has definitely taken a back seat in the scoring department, as Vincent Volpe is kind of, I think he has like a 9-point rise in his points per game this season, up to like 26 a game. Tartaglia's taking the back seat, but in this game he stepped up big. He was hitting tons of shots, putting up 26 points, leading scorer of the game. And then on the halfway crook side, I feel bad. Had a conversation with Joey later. He was demoralized about his shooting performance. We kind of busted his balls all season on the podcast, saying, "Come on, Joey, you got to get the shooting better. It's getting a little disgraceful. 2 points a game, 3 points a game, whatever he was averaging." And he was just like, "I don't know if I have it anymore." So I feel bad about that. But halfway crooks, they were probably never going to win this game. Dewey's boys are just too potent on each side of the ball. They bring too much energy, and they're just really a team at the end of the day. So that's what makes them great. It doesn't matter, who does the bulk of the scoring at the end of the day. As long as they get the W, everyone's happy. So see, Vincent Volpe scored half his average. He doesn't care. He just wanted to get the W. So that's what makes Dewey's boys special. That's why they're probably, still the favorites to win the championship this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, that's the dangerous thing about the Dewey's boys is that they have so much depth. I mean, like you mentioned, Volpe had kind of an off game by his standards of this year with 13 points, and Tartaglia stepping it up, putting up 26. There's nights too where Yarcy can go off. He comes off the bench, which is, I mean, to get a guy like that coming off your bench is, an advantage for any team in the league. So with him doing that, I mean, there's going to be nights where he'll carry them sometimes. Kutu, what you'll get out of him. Shane Patrick has the potential if they leave him open. He can hit some threes. So. And even inside too, you can get the ball inside and score. So they just have so many weapons that they can score with. That's what makes them obviously the number 1 seed in the entire postseason and one of the best teams in the league overall. And the thing about Joey's shooting is he probably needs to get that Connecticut league going, because when he's playing 2 nights a week, it probably improves his shooting numbers. So once Joey gets that back, then I think we'll see a rebranded Joey. And I think another thing too at the Crooks that maybe hurt them throughout the year is that they never seem to have a consistent group of guys showing up, where that kind of matters come playoff time if you know what guys you have and what your guys can do. I mean, we didn't really see Dylan Lincoln too much this year. I believe Joey Cora was on this team for some games, and it's like you got to get consistent guys there. It definitely helps making a playoff run when you have consistent guys, and that's something the Dewey's boys also have, is they always have the same guys showing up every week.
Yeah. So the DJ's boys have. It seems like they have the size everywhere as well. They have the size and they have the athleticism, and really it just never seems to have the lineup for the halfway crooks is different every week, like you said, and they just don't have the size to compete with a team like this. So I was actually shocked when I saw they were still in this game at half, but the DJ's boys are just too good.
Yeah, they are, and I'm looking forward to their matchup that we're going to get into a little bit later. It's going to be a real interesting one. And now for a game that we were really excited about. Brian, I know you were really excited about this game. In the end, didn't go exactly how you wanted it. You guys looked like you were going to maybe hang on to win this game. They just made a few more plays down the stretch there. Obviously, I want to hear from you just, your overall perspective on the 68-64 loss versus Good U the other night.
Yeah, I mean, if you had asked us before the postseason started, what are the three teams, the three best teams in the league, excluding our team for that argument, we would probably say the three best teams would have been Duyes Boys, Lob City, and Good U. And with the way that our playoff bracket was set up, those are the three teams we're going to have to go through. So, I mean, going into the playoffs, we obviously knew it was going to be a long road ahead. And credit Good U. I mean, they're a tough team. They're very physical. And that's something that benefited them in this game, is that they were very physical with us. We were matching it to some degree, but I personally, not that to make an excuse, but we drive a lot, and they did a good job of kind of forming a wall like teams do against players like Giannis in the NBA. Like they form that wall, and they make it difficult for me to get inside. So I'll credit them there. I think I got fouled a couple of times, but it is what it is. It's the playoffs. Can't complain about fouls all the time. So like I said, credit this team. They're very good defensively. They're pretty much the same group they had last time they went to the finals, I believe. And then they've added Randy Butler, who, I got a lot of respect for him. He's a great player. Same thing with Matt St. Hours. He wasn't there in the regular season when we played him, but he was huge in this game for them. And he was, one of the guys that we were kind of focused in on defensively trying to stop, and we couldn't really do that. And then, on our end, like I said, the shooting was difficult. I mean, you look at our numbers from inside the arc compared to 3-point range, like we shot way better from three than we did inside the arc, which is just not at all Werewolves basketball. Like we are very much an inside team. So like I said, credit them. They made us play a totally different game, and we were winning for a while. There were a couple of stretches that might have killed us, but at the end of the day, us and them were probably two of the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. So to get them in the quarterfinals was tough, but someone had to lose. So, here we are.
Yeah, it was tough. And Logan, I'll just talk for a minute here because I get to see it in person. It was, we talked about on the podcast last week. We were saying, like, if this game is more than 5 points one way or the other, we would be shocked. It was really a one possession game. I know it says 4 points, but you guys just a little following at the end there. They definitely did a great job making your life difficult. They know you want to get to the rim, and that's where you do most of your damage and stuff. So they were really smart. I mean, they're a bunch of smart basketball players, so they definitely took that away. Luckily for you guys, Dave Campbell was really clutch down the stretch, hitting those threes. I think he hit 3 or 4 of them in the fourth quarter, I'm pretty sure. And then, just a little lack of production probably towards the bottom of the roster hurt a little bit. Obviously that's not something you want to say, but I'm just looking at the box score here. And, Good U, they were just a little bit more solid down the stretch. But overall, man, it was a great season by the Werewolves. You guys started off, not ideal, 2 tough teams you lost to. But then you guys soared back, winning, what was it, 5 or 6 straight? 6 straight, right?
5 in a row.
5 in a row, okay. But yeah, you guys played great basketball the whole time. It was just unfortunate that it had to end this way, and it was a really tough draw getting Good U as the 6th seed, because in all reality, they're probably, you and them are probably like tied for like the 3rd best team in the league. You guys are 3 and 4, so that was unfortunate that they ended up with that 6th seed, because you guys definitely deserve to be in the semis. But it's unfortunate, but you guys are always fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next year. Logan, so what do you see from Good U that makes them, such a tough team to beat, and the reason they were able to outlast the Werewolves?
I always see the defense show up for Good U week in and week out. So even if their offense isn't great, they're going to be there defensively, which means the opposing team is going to shoot bad. You just got to make sure that you're shooting good enough to get the dub in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Palumbo did a great job on me, especially in the fourth quarter. I realized they switched him on to me late in the game, and he made my life difficult, that's for sure. He's one heck of a defender, and give him all the credit in the world for the way he played me in that game too.
Yeah. So, after the season, obviously a short season, and, you had a lot of personal and team success, even though it ended a little earlier than you felt, it probably should have. What is your overall feeling or assessment of the season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the end goal is to win a championship, and for the past couple seasons, we've definitely been in contention. Even this year, I mean, like we said, if the playoff bracket had laid out a little bit differently, we'd probably make a deeper run. So it is what it is, but overall, we had a lot of fun, And, like I said, we started out really bad, 0-2, and people started counting us out. And it was a lot of fun to kind of come back and win 5 in a row. I don't think we've ever done that in legacy leagues for us. So it's fun to do that. And, maybe next time we'll come back. We don't know who we'll have next season, but we'll be back and we'll have, as much fun as we always do, which is, we're just playing out there playing with our friends, and whatever happens. So overall, fun year, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Definitely. And, it kind of does suck. Like, I feel bad. Like, I didn't really have a horse in the race for that game, obviously, but I just felt like you guys deserved to win that game. I thought you guys were the better team for 38 minutes of the game, and then the last 2 minutes, you just kind of executed a little bit better. But, obviously you got to play all 40 minutes. So it was, I think you guys were up 64-61, right? They went a 7-0 run to finish the game, I'm pretty sure. Is that what happened?
I think it was 61-62. They were up, and then Will Watkins hit a 3 to put us up 2, and then next possession down, Matt Sowers drove and kicked it out to I believe Brennan Degnan, who his only 3 that he hit of the day was a top of the key 3 that put them up. And then Dave had a good look from floater range in the mid range and just fell off the rim, and then we had to start fouling. So that's kind of how it turned out. But yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, it's fun year. They're a really solid team. If we played, any of the other lower seeds around that range, the 6, 7, 8 range in the first round, we probably would have came out with the win. So it does suck in that, circumstance, but it's Legacy League's playoffs. It's a shortened season. Some of these seeds are going to be messed up and not true to who these teams are. And I don't think Good U at all is the 6th best team in this league, despite being the 6th seed.
You guys would have been better off being probably losing another game this season. You probably would have ended up with an easier matchup versus the Warriors, the Orcas. But it is what it is. You guys put up a good fight, and it was a great season. So thanks for the entertainment, and we won't scar you anymore talking about this game. So we'll move on to
yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll move on to that game that you guys could have been in if you stunk a little more. But it was the Warriors versus the Orcas. This is another game we talked about last week. Probably going to be a really close game. I think we slightly favored the Warriors because they're a team that have won like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, something like that. And the Orcas are a team that have been a little inconsistent throughout the year. You don't really know how the offense is going to be from week to week, but they play tough defense, and they're just a hard-nosed team. And they were able to grit out this win 60-56. It was kind of a back and forth game all game, obviously pretty low scoring. And then in the end, the Orcas just outscored them by 5 in the fourth quarter to kind of grit out this win. Dexter Liu, who's been outstanding all year, I assume he's going to be an all-star, 29 points. Jeff Winchell, not much to be said on the scoring column, but he was able to hold Kevin Figueredo to 20 points on 20 shots, which is crazy because he really only takes layups and dunks, and he averages like 25 a game. So that was a really good defensive performance. So obviously this game was going on during your game, Brian, but I know you saw the highlights and heard a lot about it. So what do you think about the Orcas, coming out on top? And, not like it was a huge shock, but I think maybe we all, would have expected Warriors to win this game maybe 6 out of 10 times.
Yeah, I mean, these are 2 evenly matched teams, and the score obviously shows it. Credit Dexter Liu, like you mentioned, with 29 points, which is huge, especially on a night, like you mentioned, where Jeff Winchell's off. I'm not really too familiar with both these teams because we didn't play either of them, and I didn't really see too many of their games, but I know people like Dexter and Winchell on the Orcas, and I also know, Figueredo and Goncalves on the Warriors. So I know a couple guys on each end, but yeah, from what it looked like, these 2 teams were pretty evenly matched, and the Orcas are able to pull us out shooting a huge 17 of 23 from the line, where free throws matter in this league, and when you're not hitting the 3 ball, which they really weren't that night, they made their money at the line, and that's really what ended up winning them this game, was being so efficient at the free throw line. Logan.
Yeah, Logan. Yeah, what do you see from the Orcas that make them so tough, even though they've had a little up and down season?
The Orcas make you play to their win. They are a strong defensive team. This was a matchup of the 2 lowest scoring teams in the league. And so I knew this was not going to be a very high scoring affair. It just was whoever made those shots big at the end. And the Orcas just did that better this time. They struggled from three, which is not really anything new, but they do get the job done inside, and they do play great defense, and I think that's what separated them apart in this game against the Warriors for sure.
And they're missing Mike Wilbur too, who I know he hasn't really been too effective this year on his stats, but I know he's someone who definitely will be able to score the ball if he's there in the semifinals, and he's just another threat that you have to worry about when you're playing the Orcas.
Yeah, I saw he was limping pretty good, so I don't know if what his availability is going to be next week. But he's definitely a good piece to have. He's a solid ball handler, and he's maybe good for 6 to 10 points. So they could definitely use that because Orcas can use all the scoring because Dexter Lou's not going to score 29 every week. He might score you 15 to 20, but the scoring, they need all the help they can get, especially next week going against the Dewey's boys. It's going to be a really tough matchup for them. But, I think the Orcas are a team that are very capable. I think throughout the season, I thought they were settling for too many threes. They only took 18 this game, which is pretty good. And they only made 3, which obviously is pretty terrible. But, as long as you're not just chucking up threes all game and they're using their ability to get to the rim, like Dexter Lou was kind of like a man possessed getting to the rim. He was, drawing fouls and playing extremely tough. So this is an Orcas team that can definitely give the Dewey's boys some problems. Can they win the game? I don't know. We'll get into that. But, they're a really tough-nosed team. So that's why I get all of the Orcas. And on the Warriors, just before we finish, really good season for, a team mostly made out of guys that have never been in the league before. I thought they, put up a great performance. They're unlucky to not be in the semifinals. Another bounce one way or the other in this game. And, it's probably going to be them going against Dewey's boys. But, really good year after, no one really gave him too much credit until these last few weeks. So shout out to the Warriors. That was a really good run. I love to see them back in the league next year for sure.
Yeah, I feel like they're probably maybe one piece away from being in that next group of teams that can really win it all in any given year. I mean, they have a solid foundation with Figueiredo, who there's just not a lot of people in the league that can stop him or slow him down. So they can build around what they have, and if they add another piece or two that can really score the ball and bring defensive intensity, then they're going to be a team to watch come next season if they return.
100%. I'd love to see that. Like you said with Figueiredo, man, when he gets the ball in the low block, it's really hard to stop him. And Jeff Winchell did a great job in this game, but most of the time he's going to get his when he needs to. So moving on to the last quarterfinal game, this was a game that I think we all felt pretty confident that Lob City was going to run away with this. But ball don't lie, they played really tough, especially in the first half, or I should say the first quarter. They were winning 16-15. Grant Rosenberg was on fire, and then everything kind of came back down to earth in that second quarter. Lob City wins the second quarter, 21-5, extremely lopsided. But then you look at the other quarters. Third quarter, Lob City only wins by 1. Fourth quarter, they only win by 1. So it was tightly contested besides one quarter. It was actually a really good game. Besides the second when Lob City kind of woke up. Vic Kashu, he put up 21, Greg Holt 16, Jose Mercado 16. They can do it in multiple ways, and they didn't even have Colin Burns, who was another really good player for them. Just go say shout out to Ball Don't Lie. I think they proved a lot of people wrong and put up a really good fight towards the end of the season here. A team that was 0-4 and then ended up winning 3 games, which is pretty impressive. So shout out to Ball Don't Lie, great season. And I love the videos Ellis puts out. So those are pretty fun as well. They have an awesome Twitter presence. So I know, Brian, you get to see some of this game. I don't know how long you were there for, but were you there for the second quarter?
I actually left at the end of the first, and I was like, Ball Don't Lie. They got a chance. They're winning at the end of the first, like you said. And we were kind of leaving saying, not that Grant has to carry them, but he's going to have, another spectacular 3 quarters for them to win this game just because of how good Lob City is. Looking at the stats, looked like Ellis struggled a little bit, who, that's tough for Ball Don't Lie when you're undermatched and one of your main guys is having an off night. It's tough to win, especially in those circumstances. But, ball don't lie. They're a fun team. First season for a lot of these guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they come back with. They kind of got a little bit of a Duyes boys feel to me, where the Duyes boys, their first year, were a little bit slow to start. Towards the end of the year, they picked it up, got it together. Then they came back their second season and, new team. And then they kind of just, ran away with it. So I'm looking forward to ball don't lie. See if they come back with some new pieces, some guys that can, help them take the next step in this league and get to, be one of those top competitors in the league.
Yeah, and before I send it over to you, Logan, I just want to say, ball don't lie. Yeah, it was a great season. I think they could definitely grab a few more guys, get rid of a little bit of that dead weight, and just with the energy they bring, and they're like pretty invested to the league. So I think they could definitely be a team that contends. They just got to get Grant a little bit of help. Ellis also usually puts in about 15 points. Tough game for him. The Hebrew Hammer, he had a good game, Jake Abrams, but Lob City, of course, was just too much in the end. They're a great team. And Logan, that's what I want to get to you for. You get to see like all of Lob City's like crazy highlights. I'm sure, you get them nonstop. They're always in the top 5 plays and all that. So What do you think of this Lob City team? Because they're obviously a force to be reckoned with right now.
So I definitely missed the ball on Lob City in the very beginning of the season. I watched them play Sin City, and I was really, really like, it just seemed like they didn't have energy. They really proved me wrong week in and week out, and they're a very good team. They can score the ball whenever they want, wherever they want. They can hit the threes, they can hit inside, anything. They can take it in the paint, and they just had too much size for ball don't lie. I didn't even see ball don't lie being close in this game, but Grant Rosenberg does it again, and they adding a piece or two, they are only going to get better from here. But of course, Lob City is just so much in the end. They're the leading rebounder in the team or in the league. I'm sorry, and they do a great job week in and week out. They have everything they need, and they wall up on defense, and it's very, very hard to score on Lob City for the most part.
Yeah, Lob City is just a team, and Brian, you can talk about this because I know you played them just 2 weeks ago. They're just the energy thing. I think it's an interesting point. You bring up like sometimes they do have the energy, sometimes they don't, but they're just very athletic and very skilled basketball players. So when they want to turn it on, I mean, it's very hard. And when Jose Mercado is your third leading scorer, it's going to be trouble for the other team that night. That's for sure. But Brian, what makes Lob City so hard to, deal with? I know you guys gutted out a big win against them, which was, maybe not everyone was really expecting that. I don't know if I was really expecting that, but you guys put on an awesome show in that game. So what is it about them that makes them so tough?
Yeah, and it's tough to talk about this because I really wish I was in this next game to get another matchup against Lob City. I like playing against those guys. They're fun to play against. But they are just a very good team. When we played them, they didn't have Vic, and he brings, a whole nother level to them. He hasn't really been there too much for them this year. And I think if he's there the rest of the way, they have a very good chance to win it because he is kind of a guy that brings that energy, like you're mentioning, Logan, where when he's there, the energy and the dynamic of this team changes. He's a great defender. He has the three-point shot. Some nights he might have it, but he just moves the ball well too. I mean, he had 6 assists in this game. And when Lob City is moving the ball, that's when they're most dangerous. They have great individual talents like Cody and Greg and Vic and Jose, obviously. But when they move the ball, that's what makes them more dangerous than kind of just going ISO. And I think when we played them, we baited them into playing a lot of ISO ball, which is what worked for us. But I think, that's kind of what the true Lob City team is when they're moving the ball. They're getting out and running. Cody's, spotting up in the 3-point line transition, hitting threes and yelling in people's faces. That's when they're most dangerous. And I think when Vic's there, they bring that next level to Lob City. So they're, like I said, a talented team, proven champion in this league. And they're going to be a tough out for whoever, good U plays them next, but they're going to be a tough out anyway in this playoff.
Yeah, they're definitely the 2 seed for a reason. I think they're the team that after Duyes boys, everyone would expect Lob City to probably come out on top this year. They're, like you said, Vic Kashu, I don't know if he gets tons of credit from everyone all the time. He kind of goes under the radar for some reason, but he's probably the straw that stirs the drink with this team. He just makes it happen. Even though Jose, he's going to be, throwing down on people from the free throw line and all that. Vic Kashu just does it on every end, and he brings a lot of energy. So Lob City, man, we're going to get into their matchup. I don't know if we're getting into it next. Yes, we are. So may as well just transition right into that. A really, really interesting game. We'll talk about it. We'll set some lines here, and then we'll kind of see which side we fall on. But Lob City, after saying what we just said, I think they got to be the team that's favored in this game by at least a few points. I feel like maybe they're 5-point favorites in this game. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I just think Lob City is just a little bit better than Good U. And it's only by a few points, but this is another game where no matter if it was you guys with the Werewolves or Good U, it was going to be a really good game. And I assume this is going to be another classic that comes down to definitely single digits. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was definitely I was thinking, 5 as the spread in my mind too for Lob City. I think, just being the higher seed, they obviously are favored by that. And just the way that they play, they're obviously favored, but the thing about Good U is the same thing that, we saw in our game is that they're a great defensive team. And, Lob City has a lot of individual talent. So if Good U can kind of get, like I said, Lob City to play a lot of ISO ball and really kind of make the ball stick in a player's hand, like Jose bait him into taking a lot of jumpers, or not letting Cody get wide open looks, then that gives Good U the best chance I can think of. I mean, they're the only team that's ever beaten Lob City in a playoff game. They beat them 2 years ago in the semis, I believe. So they know the recipe. It's just a matter of if they can, cook it up and get this W for Good U.
For me, I'm with the same spread. I'm on the side of Lob City as well. The Orcas just do not shoot the ball well enough, and Lob City rebounds the ball way too well. They're going to get down the floor and put up shots repeatedly. Jose Mercado has proven that he can hit anything. Some of the shots that I've seen this man hit this year have been absolutely unreal. And so I'm fairly confident that the Lob City wins this one. But having Victor get 17 rebounds last night, they probably still get those 17 rebounds, but distributed between the rest of them. They just rebound the ball so well. They're a very good team. And Good U is going to make them play down to them defensively, and they're going to struggle a little bit, but not. Lob City still comes out on top.
Yeah, and I just went back and checked. This was a game that happened in week 2. And now I feel really good about our line. Lob City won that game by 6, 71-65. And like you said, I think Lob City is going to have to play to Good U. This is going to be a low-scoring game. Good U knows how to win those games. I think Lob City knows how to win those games as well. But, this is going to be a game that's probably played in the 50s or 60s, which is definitely more comfortable for Good U. I'm going to pick Lob City to win this by possession, but I think Good U is going to cover the 5 points. I think this is going to be a really good game. I'm pretty sure I can be there for it. So I'm definitely going to be watching this game for sure. If I have to be – actually, there's only going to be one game going on at a time. I forgot it's at 7 and 8. So I'll definitely just be there taking photos, or if not, I'll be in the stands watching, because this is a game you're not going to want to miss. It's going to be very intense. And I think it's going to come down to the wire. Do you guys see who do you see winning? And if you have Lob City winning, who do you see covering?
Yeah, I think Lob City covers a spread, and I think just because it'll just be kind of close at the end, and fouls and free throws will carry them over that 5-point margin. But I expect this game to be back and forth throughout the first 3 quarters at least. Like we talked about with Good U earlier, they have a lot of weapons that can score between Matt St. Hours, Ryan Plumbo, Randy Butler, Brendan Degnan as well. Like, those 4 guys can all get 15 to 20 points in any given night. And, Lob City has the defensive players to match that with. Jose, he's just a big body and great defender. Vic is a little bit smaller, but he's quick and also another great defender. Nuri Mahmood, he locks down the paint for Lob City. So he's in there and causing havoc. And, Cody and Greg, they're not the best defenders, but, if you can get stops with them on the floor, then they can just go out and hit threes and get more than that on offense. So with Lob City, I think we're going to get a big Cody Crawford game here. He's going to come out fire and he's going to hit a couple threes. And I think Lob City covers the spread.
I am also on that side. I'm guessing Lob City covers the spread as well. I'm expecting a huge game from Jose Mercado. He's proven he can hit from anywhere, and I feel like he has 25 to 30 in the next game. I feel like he really takes over, especially in the end. But even with the defensive pressure that Goodyear is going to put in, I just don't see them winning this game.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for Goodyear. The only thing I will say is, like, I've made this point in the past, is Goodyear struggles to get their guys there all the time. It's kind of like we talked about the halfway crooks earlier. Like, they don't always have a consistent lineup. So I think, assuming that everyone's going to get there because it's the semifinals, but these are two teams of grown men, so they kind of have bigger responsibilities sometimes. So hopefully everyone's there on each side, so it's an even matchup, and it's a matchup I'm really looking forward to. I think it could fall either way. Obviously, like we said, Lob City deserves to be favored by a few points, but this is going to be an unbelievable matchup, and Goodyear, man, they can do it. They did it last year, or 2 years ago. Why can't they do it again? So we'll see what happens.
If you could put a total, like an over under on this game, what would you set it at? Because we're kind of both talking about a defensive battle, so I'm interested to see where you fall on that.
I would probably put it like right at like 120.5, probably.
Yeah.
I just think the game is played in the low 60s or high 50s. That's just kind of what Goodyear does to you. Even though Lob City can score like extremely well, we saw even last week against Ball Don't Lie, who doesn't defend necessarily well, only 72 points. So now imagine a Goodyear team that is able to hold a lot of teams in the 50s. I think this could be a low scoring affair.
Yeah, I'd probably say a little bit higher. I'd probably say like 127, 128 in that range, just because there's obviously with a chance with a team like Lob City that they drop 80, and then if you're taking the over, then that's easy money there. So I'll say a little bit higher, but I still think it'll be in that 60 to 70 point range for each team. So I'm excited to see this matchup, and I wish both teams the best of luck, but only one can come out on top.
Yeah,
I'm right around the same area, like 122. So
yeah, I think it's definitely going to fall in that type of range right there. It's just in these games, even if you expect the over under to be a little bit higher, I always think a little lower, because just the intensity is ratcheted up another level. The pressure is ratcheted up another level. So I always assume more missed shots, more locked in defense. But we'll definitely see. I think, yeah, if we say like the over under is like 124.5, that's kind of in the middle of all of us. I'll take the under, but I think it's definitely going to be close to that for sure.
Mm-hmm. And one thing too about Goodyear that I don't think I mentioned earlier when we were talking about our game is they did a great job of just shutting down any transition opportunities that we could have had. And if they can do that to Lob City, like that's another huge part of Lob City's game is getting out and running. So if they can bring that intensity and be able to get back on defense like they did against us, then that also increases Goodyear's chances. Like I said, I'm expecting a really good game. And down the stretch, I expect Lob City to hit just enough of the big shots in order to pull this one away.
Yeah, that's a great point you make right there. I think the IQ sits in Goodyear's favor. Everything else probably sits a little bit in Lob City's favor, but we'll see how that falls on Tuesday night for sure. Logan, any more thoughts on this game? Or are you ready to move on?
I don't see Lob City turning the ball over. It's anywhere as near as many times as they did in this game Tuesday night at all. So, yeah. But that's pretty much it. Everything else has been said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had what they have 9 turnovers. Yeah,
that's really high for them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could happen. I mean, good. Like we talked about, they're a great defensive team, and they got a lot of steals against us. So they could do similar things and get force Lob City to turn the ball over. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. And another game we're going to see that will come directly after this on Court 1 is Duyer's boys versus the Orcas. Orcas, a team where you probably didn't expect them to be in the spot, especially at the beginning of the year. Anytime throughout the year, they were kind of struggling up and down. There was one point where I think they combined for 75, 80 points, 2 games combined. So that was an ugly stretch they had. They had one game, it was a forfeit. So they've kind of been a little inconsistent here, but they're winning the games they need to win. They blew the Mambas off the court. They were able to outlast the Warriors, and now they get a chance at the big dogs and the Duyer's boys. Obviously, Dewey's boys, in my mind, you're going to have to favor them by about 15 points. They've been beating everyone by basically 20 every single game. I think only one or two games where it was less than 20 points all season. And I don't see why. I think that the Orcas have the ability to make this game a lot closer, but I think, based off conventional wisdom and everything that's going on this year, you gotta set that line at least in the teens. What are you guys thinking about this game? Because it's going to be a tough matchup, at least for part of the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say if I had a line on this game, I'd probably be like I would do 9.5, just because from going into a perspective, you can obviously think people either are gonna think that Dewey boys are gonna come out and blow this one out, and that's why you take the 9.5 in Dewey's favor, or you might think the Orcas have enough in them to keep this game close towards the end, and that would be the way that you win a plus 9.5 Orcas bet. But I think for me at least, this is a team that they matched up in week 7. Dewey's boys won by 15, so that's probably one of their closer games all year. And looks like they started out that game slow. For looking at that week 7 game, they started out Orcas up at the end of the first, and then the second quarter, Dewey's boys turned it on. So I mean, the Orcas clearly coming into this probably feel like they can compete, and they have some sort of game plan that they can execute that'll give them the best chance to win. For the Dewey's boys, it's just going to be, what guy shows up. Is it Kutu? Is it Volpe? Is it Tartaglia? Is it Yars? Is it, Shane Patrick? Who knows? Like, as long as one of those guys shows up, that'll give them the chance to be in the game, or, keep them in the game. And then they're just going to need some assistance along from one of the other guys in order to pull this one out.
I am Dujas boys all the way. I don't think the Orcas are going to have the offensive ability to stay in this game. The Dujas boys are just all over the place offensively. They move the ball well. They shoot the ball well. They do everything they need to do to get points. And the Orcas have proved that they can do that once every other game, maybe even less than that. And so I just don't think they are able to keep up in this game. I'm taking maybe a 10-point spread. I don't think they come close in this game. The Dujas boys are gonna run offensively, and I just don't think that the Orcas are gonna be able to shoot the ball well enough to keep into this game at the end of it.
Yeah. You guys like the 10-point spread? I'll go with it then. I do think that Dujas boys are going to cover that 10 points, but I do think that the Orcas, with their tough defense and hard-nosed play, I think that they might even have a chance to be up at halftime. But I think Dujas boys will, the cream will rise to the top at some point. They're just more skilled basketball players. They're long, they're athletic, they're a little younger. So, there are a lot of variables that go into the Dujas boys being the favorites here, as well as being on, like a 13-game winning streak or whatever it is. So, anyone that's been watching this podcast and listening to this podcast knows that I've been like a staunch, follower and supporter of the Dujas boys, picking them to win last year, even though they were like 2 years ago when they were 8 or 9 seed, wherever they were. And, I've been riding them all year. So I'm not going to leave them now. John Kutu, Vincent Volpe, Zach Tartaglia, that's probably, the best big three this league has probably ever seen. Combining for like 70 points between the three of them, it's pretty impressive. So I got Dujas boys to win. I got Dujas boys to cover, and they're going to be a team that's hard to beat unless you just find them on an off night. So, who do you guys have winning and covering this game?
I'm with you there. I think they win and they cover. But the question is for the Orcas, like, what do they need to do? Because obviously, the Dujas boys are the better team on paper, and have been the better team all year. So it's like, what can the Orcas do to stay in this game and to give themselves a chance to win? Because if you get down to 5 minutes left and it's a 2-3 point game, like, anything can happen at that point. So that's kind of where the Orcas need to be. Or obviously, if they can somehow be up 10 points by the end of the game, then that obviously helps. But I'm not expecting that to happen. I'm expecting if the Orcas want a chance, they're gonna have to be in it towards the end. And what do they do? What can they do to do that? They just need to have a great game shooting the ball. We don't really know if that has happened too often for them. So that's going to be, something to watch for them in this game, is if they can shoot the ball well. And then other than that, they just need to play great defense and get back on defense because the DJ's boys like to run, like you mentioned. They're young, they got legs. They're going to run it, for 45 minutes if they could. And that's what Orcas need to stop is that transition game because with Kutu, Volpe running the floor, it's tough to stop, and it's tough, if you're not getting back to stop it too.
I also say the DJ's boys cover. I'm also I think that the Orcas, if they want to win this game, they're gonna have to come in with a lot of energy. They're gonna have to come in and they're gonna have to shoot the ball better than they have done all year. Like it's gonna have to be their best game by far. And I really think that the DJ's boys, the DJ's boys big three is gonna get 60 a game. They do anyways. They just have to try to pick which one who they want to. The Orcas are gonna have to pick which two they want to focus on because one of them they can't focus on all three. But if they focus on two of them and not remove them from the game but keep them low scoring, they might have a chance to be in this game at the end, and then they can try to run with that. But other than that, I think DJ's boys cover it, and it's a very good chance that they do cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is gonna be, it's an interesting matchup for a number of reasons. Another reason why I think it could be interesting is we have two big personalities on each side here, and these are teams that got into, a big, like, I don't know if I want to call it a scuffling. It was nothing physical, but a yelling back and forth match. You've been on the court many times with Shane Patrick. Although his numbers aren't always like something that blow you away, does his presence out there on the court, does it change the game for the positive for the DJ's boys?
I mean, definitely doesn't hurt. I think he's just a player who, you'll know when you're playing, or you'll know when he's in the room because he's so loud and vocal, and like you said, his numbers may not be the best numbers in the league, but he definitely brings a lot to this team. And if he wasn't on this team, it not that the DJ's boys would be a lot worse off, but he definitely brings a lot to this team and how this team goes and how they carry themselves. So he plays a bigger part in the numbers show, like you mentioned. And I think, especially with the history of him, already knowing that he can trigger something in the Orcas, then he might, whip up some new insults or some new trash talk this week. And, we'll see it on the court Tuesday and see if he can get the Orcas upset and get them, frustrated with him. So if he can do that, then it definitely pulls in the favor of the DJ's boys because they know what he's going to be doing and they know how to play around it, which is not like hard to do when it's your own teammate who's talking trash to the other team.
Right. Yeah. This is Shane Patrick can definitely get under your skin. I think he definitely energizes DJ's boys when he really gets going. That being said, as long as he doesn't get thrown out of the game.
True.
Depends who the refs are. Some of them can be really sensitive. That ref this league, but some of them, will go along with it. They realize it's just fun. But the Mambas, they just can't let that. They can't let that get under their skin because there's already enough disadvantages in this game. They can't play this game angry. They just got to be able to play this, with a level head, but hard nose at the same time, if that makes sense. Because if you're going to let Shane Patrick get in your head, then you're already going to, be gone. So, all right. Well, I think that's a good recap on that game. I want to get into a little post-game or postseason awards before I know, Logan, you have to run in about 8-9 minutes. So let's just go quick. We'll do it for, every category if you guys have some idea on who you want to do for each category. But we'll start with Offensive Player of the Year. We'll just do Brian, Logan, me for every single one, and we'll try and blow through this here before Logan has to bounce. So Offensive Player of the Year, who do you guys have for that one?
So I know Joey typically doesn't award two players the same, like two different, or a player can get two awards is what I'm trying to say. So I think I'd probably have Kutu as Offensive Player of the Year, but I'm going to have him later in my selection. So for the Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Vincent Volpe because, like I said earlier in the show, the way he's been shooting the ball has, from three at least, probably the best in the league in terms of volume and efficiency. He's definitely up there. And just his other scoring inside the arc has been impressive too. He's shooting 58% from the field on the year. So, he definitely deserves an award, like I said earlier, and Offensive Player of the Year is a pretty fair one to give him.
I'm also with Volpe for Offensive player of the year, the shooting efficiency is absolutely insane, especially from outside the arc. He's shooting 54%, almost 55% on the year from three, which is absolutely unreal considering he's still averaging 26 points a game. So that's all the way for me.
Yeah, and for me, it would have been John Kutu, but he's going to get a later award. Vincent Volpe, for me, he's going to get a later award. So, again, like you said, they don't usually give double awards. I'm going to go down to Grant Rosenberg. I just feel as though he carried a really heavy load this year with a team that was pretty top heavy. 24 points a game. He was an outstanding shooter, and he definitely willed this team to a few wins here towards the end of the season. So I think Grant Rosenberg, although that may not, there's probably a good chance he's not going to win it. In my book, I think he deserves it because he really put on a great show, even when, Ball Don't Lie was struggling there.
I was going to say Grant's my rookie of the year if we wanted to give out that award. So that's what I have.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Offensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, he definitely deserves something. How about Defensive Player of the Year? Brian, this is an award you know something about. Don't be bashful if you want to give it to yourself because there's a good chance you deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we talked about earlier how I'm in contention for it. And I actually want, like I said, I want this not more than the MVP, but I'd like to have, I'd like to just keep racking up these DPOYs because at this point it's just kind of, it's funny to me if I keep getting them. So I hope I got a fifth one here out of 6 tries. So I hope I got that award instead of the MVP, especially because our team's out of the playoffs in the quarterfinals. So don't want to get anyone upset by winning MVP and losing in the quarters like that. So to me, DPOY, I want to be mine. Hopefully it is. Hopefully that's how it's voted. But I guess we'll see what happens.
I agree, Brian. You're my Defensive Player of the Year, leading in rebounds, leading in blocks, and you needed one more steal to tie for the lead in steals, man. But yeah, you're everything that you would want in a defender. You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, like we said on this pod, I think it was last week or the week before. You really are like the Giannis of the legacy leagues, man. You could be MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. Although you may not always be like the best shooter in the world, like your defense and your ability to get to the rim and create is definitely unmatched in this league. So you're my Defensive Player of the Year easily. There's a good chance you actually do end up with the MVP award, which I know, whatever. I mean, it's not a bad consolation. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move on to fifth man. I want to get all Logan's picks in here before he has to go. So who do you guys have for the fifth man of the year?
So yeah, I was trying to look at like the season stats and see which guys had a lot of points, but didn't have a lot of starts because there wasn't anyone in particular that like we played against that I was like, wow, this guy, is a clear cut fifth man. So by just looking at some stats and trying to get some names, it looked like, what was it? I think Brendan Degnan of Good U didn't have too many starts. And I mean, he was definitely impactful in a lot of their games. So I can't find his stats now, but if I think he had 1 start. So to me, I think he should be fifth man of the year. I don't know who you guys have. This is a pretty open award in terms of the players that could possibly get it.
Yeah, I don't really have a clue on where to go with this one. I was trying to look and see. Probably my fifth man. I don't think is Shane Patrick a starter for DJ's boys because he was pretty good all season long, but only has 4 games in. So
yeah, he doesn't always start.
So yeah, that would probably be mine. He gets everything. He brings the energy, and so I think that would be my most improved or my that would definitely be my fifth man of the year for sure.
Yeah, he although like we said, doesn't show up on the box score. It definitely shows in the opponents and the way they play. Tell me if I'm wrong, Brian, but Dave Campbell, he only started 2 games this year. Is that true?
Oh yeah, I forgot that Dave only started 2 games. But yeah, he could win it.
Yeah, he's a pretty easy choice. 14 points per game. Just an all-around great player. And he showed it, of course, in the fourth quarter of your game this week, dropping like 4 3-pointers, very clutch, and just missed that floater going into basically win the game. So I think Dave Campbell's a great choice there. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I'll vouch that. I forgot that not that he doesn't start for us, but it's just because in the playoffs we start with him, and then the regular season we have him off the bench just because it works out with our rotations and stuff. So yeah, if he wins it, I'd be happy, and I think he definitely deserves some credit for this year.
definitely. And then we'll do most improved player of the year.
This one is difficult. I'm sure Logan, being his first year kind of covering the league, he's got a tough.
I'm thinking.
I mean, you honestly could go with Volpe too here. Not, I think if he doesn't win Offensive Player of the Year, I think you definitely should make the case that he's most improved because his numbers year over year are impressive.
Yeah, and Logan, I'll give you a little bit more time to look, but Vincent Volpe is my choice as well. We talked about, or I talked about it earlier, how he did a 9-point jump. He went from 15.9 points per game to 25 points per game. His 3-point shooting went up 5%. Everything improved. His rebounding went up 2 rebounds a game. Everything besides assists basically because he was shooting more. So although Vincent didn't really improve, he basically just became more assertive on the offensive end. I think he's my most improved player because he definitely deserves an award. He's been a top 5 player all season, in my opinion.
I'm going to have to roll Volpe as well. He's definitely been – it's kind of hard to be the third role or the second role in a big three, and he really just comes in and puts in the work each week, and I've really enjoyed watching him this season from what I've saw. So I'm going to have to go with him as well.
Yeah, hopefully he walks away with the postseason award.
I'll throw in another name too before Logan has to drop off. I think Ellis Einhorn definitely deserves some credit from Ball Don't Lie. Not necessarily 1 year because last time he played was winter 2019, so he missed 1 year. But look at his numbers from that winter season. He averaged 4 points per game. This year he averaged 13 points per game. Look at his shooting numbers: 27% from the field, 21% from three in the winter, and then this year he was 44 from the field, 44% from three. So improvements all around from Ellis, and a team that he was kind of their second guy behind Grant Rosenberg. So I could see him getting it, and I think if he got it or Volpe got it, that would definitely be fair for them.
Yeah, and shout out to Grant. He's really invested into the league. I kind of love all the Twitter videos and everything. He cares a lot, and I'll post all their stuff on YouTube, so that's pretty cool. Logan, do you have another minute to do MVP, or are you gonna run?
No, I can. I can do MVP real quick.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
We'll get out of here. All right, so Brian, who's your MVP?
My MVP is John Kutu. DA's boys undefeated. His numbers improved from the past season that they won it all. So I mean, no brainer for me there.
I'm same way. John Kutu, he's been fantastic all year long. He gets his points for sure, and every week he comes in and does work, and I really like that player. And he does exactly what he needs to do week in and week out, and he's a very good leader, it seems. And so that's my MVP.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going the same way. Brian, I think there's a really good chance you win this. But like I said, I hope you win Defensive Player of the Year, and I hope Johnny Kutu wins MVP because I think he deserves it. If you go by MVP by the traditional sense of the word, most valuable to their team, I think there's a good chance that Brian, you might fit that mold the best. But at the end of the day, MVP basically means who has the best stats, and Johnny Kutu's on a team that hasn't lost. He's been the best player on that team, even though he's had a lot of help. And I think he definitely deserves it. I remember playing with John when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, whatever, and he's come a real long way. When that growth spurt hit, man, he went from 4'2" to 6'1" or whatever. He just became a different animal. So I think he's going to be, it's going to be close between you guys. You guys are definitely splitting votes here. But whoever it goes to, I'll be happy, and I think you guys will be happy because, you guys both deserve some sort of award. So fantastic seasons for everyone. You guys have any last statements here? Anything you want to say before we go, or are we ready to wrap it up?
I'm good. I mean, I'm excited to just watch the semifinals and see what two teams we get in the finals. And, even though I'm out, I'm still locked into legacy leagues and still following it closely. So excited to see how this season turns out and seeing, can the DA's boys pull off the perfect season? Can Good U keep this, 6 seed Cinderella run going? Can the Orcas pull off an upset here in the semifinals, or, can Lob City, reclaim the throne that they had for the first 4 seasons? So those are 4 pretty interesting storylines going into the semifinals that I'm excited to see how it turns out.
I'm not excited that the season's winding down, but I'm really, really just excited to hopefully come back and help you guys out. This has been a fun experience for me, and I hope I can continue to do it. So,
yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining me. This was great. You guys are way better than my normal co-hosts. And by the way, actually, one last postseason award I forgot is Best Legacy Leagues podcast host, and I guess that goes to me. So
you're the only one who showed up for this show, so I guess you have to get it.
Yeah, I mean, I showed up. I guess that counts. So, but yeah, thanks to everyone for watching all year. I think next week we'll have a little recap show. We'll see what's going to go on with that. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching and listening. I really appreciate it, and thank you guys for joining us. Looking forward to the semis and the finals. So we'll see what happens. See you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks, man.